Running a little late, so give me just a second here and I will get caught up. Sorry. Okay. Let's see. Cannot see. Sorry, give me just a second and then we'll start the rapid fire, I promise. Eventually, I'll be caught up before we go live. That'll be fun one day. All right, so I apologize. Let me take a drink and then we will get started. And tonight is coffee night. Have not even started on my phone. I've got 137 texts and have not even checked email. So I've got a long night ahead of me. I literally just got in the house. So I apologize, but tonight is our rapid fire Q&A. So we're only going to answer questions. If you have any questions, please put a couple question marks or explanation points at the beginning or end or both to your questions so I can read those. Everybody that is here, welcome. We're glad you're here. And tonight it's just rapid fire, so I won't be reading all the comments. It'll just be the questions, and we will try to get as many questions answered and helped as much as we can. And it sounds like my puppy's being bad. All right, so again, welcome everybody. We're glad you're here. First and foremost, Texas Coturnix quail connections in the house. Why would a 4-week-old quail be tits up with no visible attack, just laying on side stuff? The other 10 in the cage are solid. My first initial thought, the most, no, that's not the word I want to use. The most common reason would be that it hit its head, and then it's got a head injury. Is the most common. Now that's not necessarily the case, but that is majority of the time what it would be, especially when all of the other ones are okay. A 4-week-old, that's right in that range where they're pretty flighty. If you moved them, it would make sense that it hit its head. So it would kind of be interesting, Texas Coturnix quail connection, if you're still on, how high is the cage? And if it's 8 to 12 inches, that's what you need, but sometimes they still get spooked and hit their head. But it'd be interesting to see how high the cage is if you're still on. David Lister's in the house, says, hi, Zach. We have 30 pansy eggs experiencing lockdown in our little giant. Temps are good, but humidity is in upper 80s. Ooh, that's high. How can we lower it without opening? Red caps have been removed. If you have like a syringe or like a what's it called, a baster, turkey baster, you can try to suck some of that water out and you can get the humidity down. If you're having issues with it keep rising in temp, because the more they hatch, the more the humidity is going to go up, I would probably set your humidity at maybe around 60, 65-ish would be around the max, because it's probably going to go up to that 70, 75 without you doing anything. It would be better if you don't have the syringe or if you don't have something to take the water out, it would be better to actually open the lid quickly and get some water out. It would be better than leaving it at that high humidity. Hopefully that helps. Stephen Fox says, what is the narrowest gap that can be used for egg rollout trays for larger jumbo lines? Apparently this grow out jumbo doesn't like his temporary home with a bunch of dudes. What is the narrowest gap that can be used for egg rollout for larger jumbo lines? Oh, me and measurements do not get along. When we redid the cages, the standards on the right side of the barn is 1.5 inches. Jumbos are 2.5 inches high. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. That's what we do, and it works for us. Again, everybody that's here, welcome. I am not ignoring you, but tonight I only read the questions. If you have any questions, hit the couple question marks or explanation points at the beginning or end or both, so I can read them. But everybody that's here, welcome. We're glad you're here. And I will be posting videos at least the next 2 days, or 2 videos this week anyway. I don't know if I'm going to get to finishing up the brooder video or not. But that's in the works. I mean, it's 2/3 done. I hear you. Steven actually says, y'all can have your coffee. It's beer 30 here. I hear you, but I have not even started. Usually, I actually haven't done my phone or emails since Saturday. So Sunday, Monday, that's 2 days. Usually it takes me about 3 hours a day. So 9, 10, 11, 12. I'll probably be sitting right here until about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because I do not have time to do it tomorrow. I'm moving a lot of birds around tomorrow to get ready for butchering. So I've got to do it tonight, so it's going to be a long night. And I was up early today. And I'll be up early tomorrow. So coffee it is for me tonight. Let's see. Katrina says hello. James says, Zach, things keep changing, it seems. What's the current best practice for hardware cloth on the sides of the cages? Half by half or something else? On the sides of the cages. It really doesn't matter. Ours are one by one. They're inside. If you're going to be on the sides of the cages, it really doesn't matter at all. The reason I say that is you could do 1/4 inch. You'll have to, if you're having the feeder or the water outside of the cage, you'll have to cut some so that they can get their heads out, which isn't a huge deal. But if they're outside or to make it more predator proof, then the 1/4 inch would be completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Ours are secured into our quail barn. Nothing is in and out. So we just used 1 by 1 because that's what we found the cheapest at the time. So it really doesn't matter. Half by half would be fine. 1/4 inch would be fine. 1 inch would be fine. I probably wouldn't go over 1. But on the sides of it, it really doesn't matter. That's a good question. But my thought is the smaller. Yeah, my thought is the smaller the better to keep predators out. Would be my thought. Let's see. Nope. Lying down, I can open the incubator and remove some of the water, but that might make things worse. With that high of humidity, I would take some water out. Now, if you don't have to and you can use something to suck the water out without opening it, that's ideal. But leaving it that high, especially, I think I saw you say that it was on day 16. You don't want it that high. Especially that, if it was on day 18 or 19, I'd say don't worry about it, let it go. But because you're on day 16, it's just too high. They're going to start drowning in the eggs. I'd take some water out one way or the other. I'd have plan your steps before you open the incubator. You want it open as little amount of time as possible. But I mean, 30 seconds, a minute, it's not going to hurt anything. But leaving that humidity in there that high could destroy the hatch, actually. So I definitely lowered a little bit. 160 Acres says they just caught Casey White and Vicky White in Indiana. I don't know who they are, but I'm way behind on the times. I'm sorry. But I think that's a good thing. I hope. Woman of Spirit says, Zach, will the chicks from white or speckled eggs lay blue eggs? Will the chicks from white or speckled eggs lay blue eggs? Oh, they are carriers, so you won't know about those. It's really hard to say. you've probably got, I would say one or two, but it's hard to say. They're just carriers, which means they'll carry it on, which is good if they're males. Um, it's a crapshoot, to be honest with you. Sorry. I wish I could give you a better answer. Flew the Coop Farm says, when you need more egg production, would you order eggs end up... Wait. When you need more egg production, would you order eggs, end up your numbers, or would you try to find some local 5 to 6 week old birds about ready to lay? Well, I think that's different answer. So my answer would be that I would hatch out my own. Here's with what you're asking, I don't think there's a wrong answer. However, you are going to be spending a lot more on the 5 to 6 week old birds, but you'll have the production a lot faster. Here's the thing with that. If you have the business now and you're open, you're honest, and you're educating on your customers on what's going on, they'll be patient and wait. So if it was me, I would dedicate a cage, small or large, whatever, even 20 hens. I would dedicate a cage and say, these 20 hens are going to lay, 15 eggs a day, and I'm going to put all those in once a week. And those are just for me to keep increasing. And that adds up real quick. Now, with that being said, sometimes that's harder to do than others because you're trying to get accounts, and you can't really do the accounts unless you're ready to do it. I would have a hard time I guess it depends on how many you're looking at. If you're needing like 15, 20 hens, and you could use the eggs immediately, maybe buy local. I mean, not necessarily local, but maybe buy live birds. It would be hard for me to justify. It would take X amount of extra weeks to pay for the extra money to put in. On top of that, I'm really big on AI and I'm really big on biosecurity. So I would have a hard time bringing live birds in. But if you're getting them from a reliable source, those are the things you want to think about. I can't really say what you should do. That's where my thought process would go. So my answer would be I dedicate a small cage just to put in for us every week. That would be my first choice. Second choice would be eggs. Third choice would be live quail. But I'm not saying, I don't think that there's a wrong answer there. I think it depends on what exactly you've got going on. And so, for example, if you're about to get this big account and you need to finalize it, but you need more quail immediately, then you need to skip all that and just go straight to the live. So it really depends. Let's see. Texas Saturnix Quail Connection says hacking time cages, so where it was at front 12 inches. Where it was laying. Well, that's where the majority of the light would be. I'm still thinking that it probably got spooked. It's really hard to say. If you saw no markings on it, all the other ones are acting fine, I would chalk it up to it hit its head. and then I would just watch them for a couple days and see if you see anything else. Is where I would be at. One says, my quail are 5 weeks old today. I have them split in male and female only groups. Good job. When should I be making my breeding groups? I'm seeing the boys are ready to go. So my rule of thumb, what we do is the males will be ready first. Then the hens will start laying eggs. I usually let the hens lay eggs for a minimum of 5 days. I try to go 7, but it really depends on my work week. So once they lay for about 4 or 5 days, well, 5 or 6 days, then I'll start putting the groups together. And then I'll collect those eggs for a full week before I use them for anything. Is how I do it. I did not see this before. I am so sorry, but Texas Caternix Quail Connection donated $5 to the 18 and under contest. If you do donate, it's the $ in the bottom where the chat is, and it goes to an incubator for next month's 18 and under contest winner, which is for educating, encouraging, and inspiring the next generation to become more self-sufficient, learn entrepreneur skills, become more responsible, and things like that. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's very generous. Iron Man Concrete Pumping is in the house. This question, is there any truth to higher low temperatures you get more females or males? I hatched out 11 and only 3 were females. No. There is... No. Now, with that being said, you can manipulate your temperatures. I have not done this. Chris from Slightly Redneck talked to me about this, and I might be saying it correctly, but I would confirm with him. In fact, there's a video on our YouTube channel that it has Chris and I in it. It wasn't too long ago, 2-3 weeks ago. And I think I titled it like Many Different Ways to Raise Quail or something like that. And he actually, I think he said it in the video, or maybe he said it right out. I think he said it in the video, but he did a test one time, and I think he increased the temperature and had more males hatch, but he had a low hatch rate. So he was saying that if you do increase your temperature, you can get more males, except you get a lower hatch rate. So the temperature doesn't affect male or female. It's been already decided. I guess the males have a higher tolerance. I'm not too sure. I haven't experienced with that. He has a YouTube channel, and he does his lives every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on his channel, Slightly Redneck. You could ask him what he did that one time, and he can give you a more accurate answer to that. But no, there's nothing behind, pointy eggs versus round eggs, or a different temp or different humidity. It's been determined long ago. So that doesn't have anything to do with it. It's a good question, though. Kelly says, best day to candle eggs in baiter for inexperienced candler. It's a good question. If you do want to candle, so I know I'm giving you guys really long answers, but I'm trying to let you. Okay, let me start over real quick. Okay, so I really want to encourage everyone that there's many different ways to raise Caternix quail. So I can tell you what I think is the best practice and what I would recommend, but I want to give you the thought process behind it so that you can decide whether that works for you or not, because the way I do it might not be the way you think it's best, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree. I just want to give you the thought process behind it. So with that being said, if you're inexperienced and you're wanting to learn more, that's great, and I'm very happy about that question. What I would recommend is you not candle, and hear me out. Put them all into lockdown. Let them hatch out. When the hatch is over, I would candle then. When you do that, you put 2 different piles together. You put a pile of what you think is fertile and a pile of what you think is not fertile. Preferably, you open up the ones that you do not think is fertile to check yourself. And then you start getting more familiar with it. If you're inexperienced, that's what I would really recommend. Now, with that being said, the best time frame to candle would be when you're moving them to lockdown, because you've already gotten it open, you're already moving the eggs. that's when you can candle. That's what we do. That's what's highly recommended. I know a couple of people that like candle on day 3, day 10, day 12, and I go, oh God, like it makes me cringe. I'm like, oh, like too much moving. Um, but that's how they want to do it, and that's okay. Again, that's all right. Not a problem at all. But to get familiar with it, there's no reason why you can't do it at the end and still get the same results, right? Um, that's what I would recommend. But if you have any questions about that, feel free to let me know. Again, everybody that's here, welcome. We are very happy you're here tonight. I'm only going to be reading and answering the questions. I won't be reading the comments, like where you're from or anything like that. But I do appreciate everybody that's here. Thank you very, very much. David says, we do have a syringe and we'll give that a try. Wonderful. And good luck. Absolutely. Iron Man Concrete Pumpkin says, we use 1.5 inch for the jumbos and 1.25 for standard, and it works great. 2.5 is big gap. It is. We actually have, we put a little lip on there. So it probably is 2 inch. Because they'd have to hit that lip, and that lip is about 1/2 inch. It probably is a 2 inch. Maybe 2.25. That could be 1/4 inch with the lip. Yeah, I would actually agree with what Iron Man Concrete says. I think that would be best because ours are made just a little bit differently, and we actually put a lip on there. I kept getting really big jumbos, and they just kept not going through, and then I have to open the cage and pull them out, and it was annoying. So we actually increased it, and it did look a little high. So we put a little lip on there so that if they try to get out, they'd have to go under that, and they can't. So with that being said, I like the 1.5, and I know it's at least 2 for the jumbos, but 1.5 would probably work as well. All right, so with our jumbos, we put them in the cage. I just want to explain this real quick. We put them in the cage where they're actually going to go. And then these are the grow outs. And then we put a strip of wood where the egg rollout would be so that they can't get out. By the time they're 6 weeks old, they're starting to lay eggs. We take that off. It's just on the outside where they just can't get out underneath the gap. We take that off, and our jumbos are way too big to get under that. I like the 2 inch. I agree. The 2.5 did look big, and I did forget about that little piece we put on there. So I do agree with that. I think you could go to 2.5. 1.5 seems to work for Iron Man, so I don't think that's a bad idea either. Let's see. Chris says, new to Quail, how do they do in winter? They do completely fine. Do I need to move their pins into the garage? You don't, but they need to get out of the elements. The weather, the temperature does not affect the Coturnix quail. So, it could be super hot, super cold, anywhere in between. They're going to be okay. They adjust very well. They don't like the elements. Heavy wind, rain, snow, sleet, whatever else. So they need something to get out. So you could put a little box in there for them to get out of the elements. You could move them to the garage. They'll probably produce better in the garage, especially during winter, but you wouldn't necessarily have to. But welcome, and we're glad you're here. And if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. Travis says, how much feed does it take to feed 100 birds? That is a great question, and I don't know that off the top of my head, but I did do a quail math video. In fact, Travis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comments below your question, Ed Got Bait put a link in there to how much does an adult quail eat and how much does an egg cost video that I did, quail math, and it will give you the answer in there that you could watch, but I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry. And I did not mention this, but thank you very much, Ed Got Bait and Verna Young, for being the moderators on here. They help out tremendously on here and behind the scenes. So thank you very much to both of you. And happy early birthday to Verna. Her birthday is in 2 days, so happy birthday. Texas Coturnix Quail Connection says, so I did a thing and bought a Barado with humidifier and am collecting all your flocks, eggs, and stuffing the incubator on Saturday. That's very cool. Congratulations. I wish you all the best. I've heard good things about them. So hopefully it goes well for you. And that's great. Congratulations. Good luck. Healthful Hint says it's the inside of the eggshell is blue and the outside of the egg is brown and white. Is it a celadon? Not necessarily. It is very, very tricky. Now, celadon carriers will have a blue inner ring. The inside of it will be blue. Yes. But so do all the other Coturnix quail until they dry. And then that blue turns to white. Now, the celadon carriers will not turn blue to white. They will stay blue inside of it. But the non-celadon carriers look like a tint of blue inside when you open them up. And then when they dry out, they turn white. So it's very, very tricky. So I'm going to say, for the most part, no, that does not mean they're celadons. And I'm sorry for answering things so long. I apologize. I just want you guys to understand what I'm trying to say so that there's no confusion. And hopefully that answers a couple more questions you might have. And if I don't answer anything as clearly as you would like, please re-ask. That's what I'm here for, and I'm happy to help. Ashley0882 says, hi Zach, how long after pipping until fully hatched? Ideally it's about 6 to 12 hours is kind of what you want to see. If it takes longer than 12 hours, that typically means you need to increase the humidity. Not a lot, but you need to increase the humidity just a little bit. But for example, if they start pipping on end of day 16, if they haven't completely broken out of the shell by midday on 17, I'd increase that humidity by about 5% to help them out. The reason why you want to increase the humidity is to soften that egg so that it's easier for them to just break through. Now, with that being said, you can have too much humidity as well. And when that happens, you actually drown them inside the egg because the humidity is too high. So it's a fine balance, but especially at hatch, you want them to pip and break out fairly quickly. It's a good question. Juan says, thanks for the help with that. I was tempted to start now to avoid some suspicious activities. I'll let them sort it out though. Yeah, typically, well, the reason I say that, and I didn't clarify, the reason I say to wait until they start laying eggs a little bit is if you introduce them, I think you said that they were like 6 weeks, I think. I could be wrong. But if they haven't started laying yet, if you introduce the males, you're going to stress them out. That's inevitable. You can't do anything about that. But with that, they can start laying much later because right before they started laying, you stress them out, which again is not your fault. You have to introduce the males, but you stress them out and then they stop. They just don't lay, and then it's you don't start getting eggs until 2.5 weeks later. Now, if they have been laying for 5 days, preferably 7, but if they've been laying for about a week, somewhere in that time frame, then they're starting to get familiar with everything. They're starting not to struggle as much. They're more calm and relaxed. You introduce the males properly, and then you're off to the races. They don't even stop laying. So that's the reason we do that. Bill says, what about very elderly birds? I have 25 set, 1 hatch so far after day 17. What hatch rate to expect? That is a lot of questions. We'll go through it. What about very elderly birds? So we switch our... what I recommend for people that are homesteading, trying to become more self-sufficient, switch your males out about once every 9 months. Switch your hens out once a year, once every year and a half. I'm sorry. Switch your hens out every year and a half. Switch your males out about once every 9 months. That will continue to give you nice, fresh birds, full productivity, and you're good to go with that. Now, with that being said, they do lay longer, so you can wait longer on that. But to continue the maximum production, that's ideally what you would do. Now here, because we ship so many hatching eggs and we have so many quail, we actually switch our males out twice a year, so every 6 months, and we switch our hens out once a year, just so that we don't have any issues, because if we went down in a cage, it's really hard to get caught up. But we're doing larger numbers. What you can do with the elderly birds, so what we do with our old breeders is we have a falcon and reptile account, so all of them get bloodless called and sent to them in the freezer. We also butcher just for us. We butcher for us for the older quail. Now at QuailCon, you will be getting fresh young quail, because I know not everybody likes them. But we don't mind them at all. We usually grill them out. We put some seasoning on there, and they're fine for us. So you can eat them. You can feed them to your dog, your reptile. You can sell them, whatever the case may be. Raw dog food, whatever. And then I had 25 set, 1 hatch so far after day 17. What hatch rate to expect? Well, I would change a couple things first. So first, I would have liked to see a lot more than 1 hatch so far after day 17. So because they're hatching late, that usually means it's a temperature issue. And that might not be you. It might be saying that it's a certain degree, but it might not be everywhere. My philosophy is incubators lie. So with that being said, I would take a towel and wrap your incubator to help insulate it a little bit more. I would increase your temp a 1/2 degree, and I'd let it go for about 72 more hours. And I would probably increase your humidity 5%. If you do that, I think we still have enough time. So if you do that by about 12 to 18 hours, that'll take effect. I think you could still get about 17 to 20 hatch if you do those numbers ASAP and leave them in there for 72 hours. It's a possibility. David Lister says, Zach, syringe is working and have emptied out 2 channels so far. The learning curve is strong with this one. There you go. I'm glad that worked, and good luck. And if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. Confused says, can I safely feed to my dogs the eggs found not to be fertile but have been in the incubator for 14 days? We don't. I do know a couple of customers that do. I think it's personal choice. The ones that don't hatch for us, if we're not selling them, sometimes we sell them because reptiles love them, especially like egg-eating snakes and tegus. But if we don't sell them, then they go to our pigs. But we don't feed it to the dog, but the dog eats crap and licks its own butt. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I'm sure it'd be fine. We just don't. But we've got pigs, so that's where they go. So I'm sure it'd be fine. The pigs don't get sick, so I'm sure it's fine. James says, hi all, going to give Quail a go in 2 weeks, just gathering info now. Awesome. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And just so you know, we do have a playlist on our YouTube channel called New to Quail and What I Need to Know. They're very short videos, but it gives you a lot of information in there, and hopefully that will help you as well. Flew the Coop Farm says, corporate accounts taking everything I got, so I can't dedicate anything to me for incubation. I can call or text you later and go over it more, but they're willing to work with us. with your situation, Flew the Coop Farm, I would need more details. I should. I should be able to answer the phone tomorrow. Why don't you just text me tonight with your availability tomorrow, and I'll put it on my to-do list to call you in between. I could call you on my way to the post office or something like that. The problem is I've got to get orders out, and then I'm moving straight to cages. And I think you've talked to me in the quail barn before. You can't hear me, and me trying to answer while I'm moving birds I get real frustrated. So. Let's see. Yeah, just text me your information and I would need to know I need to know more to help. But I don't mind. David says, Zach, are you getting lots of pearl eggs? I got a pearl hen from the last time I ordered eggs, and it was an amazing color. I do love the pearls, and yeah, we get about the pearls. We probably get about, I don't know, somewhere around 75 eggs a day. 70. Over 60, under 80, somewhere in that range. So yeah, we have a little more than a dedicated cage to pearls. And yes, I love them very much. And they're feather sexable, which is even nicer. Don says, I have 2 Govee Bluetooth thermometers in my incubator. They disagree with each other by 0.8 degrees on average. Is there a good way to calibrate before the next hatch? There is. I know it's in the directions. I didn't read it. I know that the calibration instructions are in the directions if you don't have the directions anymore. I do believe that there is a YouTube video that shows you how to do it. It might even be on their website. Possibly. I don't remember. You could check the website or you could check YouTube and just calibrating Govee thermometer or something like that. It should pop up. Eventually, I'm going to do a short video on that as soon as I can find time to breathe. It just, whew. Isn't that, I know it's rapid fire. I'm sorry. I'm going to go on a small little tangent. But, I came back from Homesteaders of America 2 weeks ago. Week and a half ago, whatever it was. A week ago? God, I don't know. Anyways, I went to Homesteaders of America, came back, and I really was completely 100% focused on being more self-sufficient, more time efficient, more land efficient, more everything efficient. Efficient. I've got to save time. I need more time. And I can't buy more time. I can't ask for more time. I've got to make more time. And to do that, I've got to make things more efficient. And so I've came up with all these ideas. We've started implementing some of them. And isn't it weird that every time you get really headstrong about something, it feels like everything just collapses around you. And you're like, oh, I got to put this fire out, and I got to put this fire out, and oh, I got to go do this, and oh, this came up. And it's like, I just want to be more efficient. So I will do the video. I just got to be more efficient. But there is one out there. I just cannot remember where it is. If somebody remembers where it is. Oh, actually, I do believe that if you have, if you're on Facebook at all, I do believe that Verna Young actually posted a couple weeks ago detailed instructions on how to do that. I'm almost 90% sure she did. So you can check that out as well on any of the Facebook groups, Newbie Quail Lovers, Quail Call, Self-Sufficient Quail, Quail for Profit. I think she posted in all of them. I do believe. And I lost my spot because I just rambled on. I am so sorry. Fast, rapid fire. Charlene White says, "Hey Zach, our final numbers are raising the temp and humidity and putting towel around the incubator. We had 52 hatch. That is out of how many? Maybe you told me a little bit later. 52 out of 79. That is awesome. Congratulations, Charlene. That's wonderful. If you're still on and I didn't bore you, if you can tell me what kind of eggs they were, I would greatly appreciate it. That's awesome. Congratulations. I'm really happy that that worked. If you're still on as well, if you could let me know how many hatched after you changed the numbers and put the towel around it, I would love to know that as well. Thomas says, can you speak on humidity really quick throughout incubation? Yeah, so long story short, and I'm gonna make this real short. I am going to be doing a video on it shortly because I think this might help a lot of people at least understand it and decide how they want to run it. Humidity, it's okay. You got to hear me all the way through first, okay? So don't listen to the first 7 words and then not listen. You got to listen to this whole thing. Humidity is important the entire time they are in the incubator. But with that being said, it is a small portion of importance during the incubation process. So you really don't want it to go over 45%. The best way for me to explain it is high humidity during incubation is a bad thing. That affects the hatch. Low humidity during incubation, really not that big of a deal. Ideally, you keep it at 45%. That's a best practice. But if you dry hatch and sometimes it's 18%, 30%, it's not the end of the world. Temperature is vital. And I cannot stress that enough. Temperature is vital during the first 14 days. When you move them to lockdown, that is when temperature and humidity collide, and they are both vitally important. So during the incubation, it's ideal to be at 45%, but if it's lower than that, not the end of the world. If it's higher than that, now you've got a problem, you need to fix it. During lockdown, you really don't want to go over 80. I would recommend starting at 65 and every day during lockdown increase it by 5%. So you move them to lockdown on day 15. Day 16, which is the day they start moving around, you have it at 65%. Day 17, you move it to 70%. Day 18, you move it to 75%. Day 19, they're starting to hatch late. Move it to 80%, be done, and whatever hatches in the next 24 hours, you're good to go, unless there's an issue. If they start hatching on day 18, then that changes the numbers. But that's how we do it. We get best results with that. Hopefully that answered your question, but if it didn't, please let me know. We're getting a lot of great questions tonight. G. Rubin says, 2 chicks late last night, day 17, 12 more so far today. Hoping for more of my 58 to pop, raised temp and humidity per your recommendations. Well, I'm glad that it's working a little bit because I do believe last night you didn't have any hatching yet, or maybe you had one. I can't remember exactly. All right, so if we assume you had one, then you had another, and now you've got 12 more. You're on day 18. I would leave your humidity where it is and keep it wrapped. I would actually increase your temp another 0.5 degree, because I would have liked to see that 12 actually be somewhere around 24. And because you moved it up 0.5 degree, we had 12. I'm thinking that you need to increase it another half degree, and I think that'll help. Because Okay, so this is a great example, and I'm going to use this as an example, so hopefully you guys can understand it as well. So he's technically, G. Rubens is technically on day 18, okay? But he changed the numbers last night because I think the incubator wasn't reading correctly. Now, with that being said, when he changed those numbers on day 18, he's had 12 so far, but he's put in 58. So we really need to look at today being day 16. So if it was me, I would let it go another 3 days. I would increase the temp another half a degree because I do think that that's going to help a lot. I would keep the humidity the same and make sure it's wrapped still. But I would count today as day 16 because that's when they are starting to hatch. So I would let them go until, let's see, 19, 20, 17, 18. Today's Monday? What's today? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I would call it quits Thursday afternoon, is what I would do. I would increase the temp and let it run through Thursday, and I think that'll give you the best results that we can. But I do think your temp is running a little low. I think you're probably right where you should be at now, but because we're kind of late in the game, I kind of try to manipulate that a little bit and get them to want to get out of those eggs a little bit quicker. Um, and again, if anybody has any questions about any of this, feel free to let me know. Burke's Ball Python says, are deviled quail eggs much different from chicken eggs taste-wise? Nope, they're not different. They're really cute, though. I mean, they're just little bite size. They're great for parties. George actually made, I think, like 300 of them for Thanksgiving. And they were awesome, and we literally had 0 left over. But they were delicious. Great question. Chris says, I get my first quail in next week. I get my first quail next week. I'm so excited. So blessed to have found you. Is it too late to order eggs from you? I live in Idaho. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. Good luck on your journey with quail. I'm glad you're excited. I think you're going to do great. And no, our website's up and running. We are shipping out hatching eggs. We are not shipping any live quail until they get this AI under control and contained. But yeah, we're shipping hatching eggs all over except to Hawaii. Yes, that's it. Well, usually we can ship to Hawaii and Puerto Rico. We can't ship, and the Virgin Islands. We can't ship to the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, or Hawaii right now because it's going through customs, and that's a no-no right now. Dale Strong says, how many eggs would you suggest to buy if was shooting for 3 breeder sets? Well, if you're considering 3 breeder sets to be 5 hens and 1 male, that's 15, that's 18. So you need 15 hens. So if you order a 50 count, I got to do the math, I can't tell you. So if you order a 50 count, you're going to get 60. Let's just say you get 30 to hatch, 50% hatch rate. You should be getting a much higher hatch rate than that, but let's just say half, so 30. And then half of those will be males, which means you have 15 hens. So 50 count is going to get you real close, if not exactly the right. I would order 50 eggs. I think the 110 count or even, a 50 and a 25 count is going to give you too much. But if you've got room for that, if you do have too many, then you can kind of be picky on what you want to put in the breeder cages. But just getting started and wanting 3 breeder sets, I'd start at 50, and you might be 1 short, you might be 2 over. It's going to be close, but yeah. Just Saban's in the house. Hello from Colorado. I got a silvery roux from a local breeder, just one. If I want more his color, what color hens should I put him with for best shot? A silvery roux. So if you've got a silvery roux, really you could put it with anything. Italian. You can do Tibetan. I really love the silver and Tibetan together because it creates a charcoal silver, a very dark silver, and I love that color. But they're kind of tricky. Italians, Pharaohs, would probably be ideal. I'm trying to go through the numbers. Growl is a little tricky. You could put it with white, but it's not. I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to recommend that. You can. I just won't recommend it. No. Tibetan's not a bad choice. I like Tibetan. It's just a little tricky to get more silvers because it takes a little bit. Rosettas are pretty much the same thing as the Tibetans as far as it takes a little while, but they're cool silvers. Italians, autumn ambers. You put them with pearls, you'll eventually start getting snowies, which is really pretty. Yeah. You could put them with any of the tuxedos. Wouldn't be the end of the world. Really, you can put it with anything. It's not going to hurt anything. But for best results, it would be either Italian or Pharaoh. But if you don't have either one of those, really, you can put it with anything. It's not the end of the world. Dirty Herd Farm and Nursery, welcome. Glad you're here. Should we water our new hatchlings with Save-A-Chick electrolytes or just plain water? So I just do just plain water. I have well water, and they get that. And then I'm going to do a video on this, but what Murray McMurray does is he gives his chicks electrolytes for the first week, and then he gives them every time a change happens. So when they're moving them to the breeder cages or grow out cages, he gives them electrolytes. Then once they start laying, or when it's time for them to start laying, he gives them electrolytes. Then if they start molting, he gives them, like any change, he gives them electrolytes to help them through and give them a boost. I thought that was a great idea, and I'll be sharing that with everybody in a video. But I think that's a great idea. So we don't, but Murray McMurray does for the first week. So yeah, there we go. How long from hatch to full feather? 3 weeks. Debbie at She Shed Homestead says, so I have a butt plucker. I've been trying to observe to see who is doing it. Zach, how do I make this stop? How common is this? One of my birds has a bloody back and not underneath. Usually, so sometimes you have a male that just, so we recommend 5 hens to 1 male. That 1 male will do his thing to all 5 hens, right? And produce fertile eggs to all 5 hens. And he'll still do that no matter what. But sometimes, not as common, but sometimes they find a hen that they fall in love with. It's their favorite one. Usually it's overbreeding. What you're saying is usually an overbreeding thing. You could take her out and give her a break for a little bit, but he just really likes her, unless you have a different ratio. So I recommend 5 hens to 1 male. If you're doing a 3 to 1 ratio, then that would exactly be it. It'd be overbreeding, and it wouldn't be because he's just infatuated with her. It's because he's got too much energy. I was in the quail hutch today building a grow out cage. A sound like a bottle rocket, and boom, an egg came down the rollout. Happened 3 times. Very cool. Congratulations. Again, everybody that's here, welcome. I'm glad everybody's here. Tonight is just rapid fire. We're supposed to be, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I'm only going to be answering, I'm only going to be reading the questions tonight. If you have any questions, just put a bunch of question marks or exclamation points so I can point those out. Oh, I'll need another cup of coffee. Steven says, when do you start counting days in the incubator? I'm seeing a lot of people not starting on day 0 and going from there, wondering which is the correct breeder's way. It's a good question. So I'm going to answer quickly. I will be doing a video on this more in depth, okay? But We have a system. So long story short, I'm going to tell you our system, but long story short, what you need to know is if you're putting them in the incubator early in the morning. So I'm going to say before you could. If you're putting them in the incubator before noon, count that as day one. If you're putting them in the incubator after noon, count that as day zero, because half the day is already gone and you're just getting a jump start on it. So what we do is we put in eggs for us every Friday when George gets off work. That's when we put them in. The earliest he gets off on Fridays is 12:30. The latest is 2:30. That's usually when we put them in, is around 2:30 is when I put them in when he leaves. So with that being said, that's day zero for us because I'm putting them in after that, after noontime. So that's how we do it, and it works great for us. It just gives them a little jump start. But if you're putting them in, if you go to work at 9 and you're putting them in at 8:15 in the morning, then you would count that as day one because they're in there for most of the day. I hope I don't. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't want to miss anything. Newt Scott says, thanks for all the info you put out. Got an order with you for about 3 weeks, probably another 7 weeks till they ship. I'm glad for all your success. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate everyone that's purchased from us and has been so patient. And if you've watched and you've canceled an order, I got a text today. I have not gotten to it yet, but I saw it come through, and they said they purchased. They didn't realize that it was like a 10, 11 week wait for the Jumbo Wilds. If they can just cancel, it just wouldn't work for their time frame. No hard feelings. I completely understand. So we're good. But everybody that's out there that is being so patient, I really do appreciate it. And we're trying to make it. I mean, we're sending you an email once you order saying the time frame. It's blasted on our website. We're trying to be upfront and honest as much as possible. I guess either you're upfront and honest or you're not. There's not really a possibility. It's either you do it or you don't. So we are. And I just appreciate all of you guys being very patient. So thank you very much. And Newt, I will get you out as fast as I possibly can. I promise. Carolyn says, if we have slightly curled toes on a few, will it correct itself? No. We have quite a few in the incubator now. Thank you for the advice. I'll get you a hatch rate when I get a final count. That's wonderful. Congratulations. If you do have a couple curled toes, I'd like you to increase your humidity about 5%, and that should help with that. The curled toes thing is usually that they're hatching late. That's majority of the time what that is, and why that's going on. I do know of someone that did fix it the other day. I've never tried to fix it. They go to feeders for us. And for the life of me, I cannot remember how he said that. They said that I think they said that they spread it out, like they put it out, and then they put a Band-Aid and made it flat, so it couldn't curl in. I think that's what they did, and I think they left it on there. I think they said for a day. It could have been for a day and a half. And they said that it worked. They took the Band-Aid off, and it's good to go. So you could try. I haven't personally tried that. I think I got poison ivy. Crap. One says, I had a difference with my incubator on Govies. I checked a week prior to incubating. I tried turning the top 180 degrees after messing with the setting for hours. Worked like a charm. I used an IncuView, might help. Okay, there you go. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad you typed the rest out because I was a little lost, but I got you now. Can you feed table scraps like chickens? For the most part, yes. For the most part. Dr. Connie says, after 4.5 months, I'm at about 60 birds. and more eggs in the incubator and butchered 22 so far. I'm down to 10 minutes to butcher skinned. Any thoughts on deboning? That is awesome. Congratulations. You are rocking it. I remember you being here, I guess, 4.5 months ago. It doesn't seem like that long ago. Time flies when you're too busy to breathe, right? But it sounds like you're doing great. We have deboned. We really don't do it very often. We've done it just to do it, but we really don't. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We just don't do it. And let's see. You said you're down to 10 minutes to butcher skin. That's great. Congratulations. We're actually doing the butcher session on Thursday, and and George is completely against the plucker. He thinks it's a huge waste of time. He doesn't like it. He'd rather skin them. It's much faster. So we talked about it today. We tried it out, and I was like, I think you're right. And then we don't have to get all the equipment out. Then we don't have to clean it all. Then we don't have to sanitize it. Then we don't have to put it all up. I was like, let's just go at it. I think that we could get a process down. So we will actually be skinning this time. I'll be doing videos on that. I did tell him because we've got a butcher every month until QuailCon for the dinner that's coming up at QuailCon. And if you don't know what that is, go to our website. There's a tab that says QuailCon 2022. Check that out. There's a lot of fun at September 3rd and 4th. But so one of these months when we have a little bit extra time, we are going to get the plucker out and do a video on that as well. But this time we're going to do the video on skinning and different ways to kill. Charlene says Jumbo Wilds and Jumbo White. Oh, thank you very much. Jumbo and White. Wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Can you ship eggs to Canada? Not at this time. I'm sorry. There's been a lot of things that's happened for the international. So, what was it? COVID happened, pretty much shut all of it down. And then as soon as we started forgetting about all of that, AI started. So we've had a hard time. And we're still shipping in the States, but shipping internationally is just, yeah. G. Rubin says, a few of my chicks are all yellow. Will they likely become white? If they're all yellow, yeah, most likely. Dusty Green says, I have a few gold hens. What would I get color-wise if I put a silver male in with them? So you'd get silver, then you would get Italian. Depending on the silver color, you could get gold Manchurian as well. But you will also start getting what I call silver and golds. It's a silver quail, but it starts having kind of a gold pattern on the back. Kind of, you know, it's literally like you meshed them together. So the whole quail is silver, but then you've got that gold coming through on the back like you do on the Italians. It's really cool. Silver and golds are really, really fun. Silver pharaohs are a lot of fun. Same deal, only with pharaohs and not Italians. And obviously, if you put silvers with Tibetans, you start getting charcoal, and I love the charcoal color. Love them. I'm sorry, Gabriel. I really am. Bill says, is 101.5 too high on my day 17 hatch immunity 7? Yes, 101.5 is in the red zone. You need to decrease that if it's reading correctly. Michelle says, Zach, please tell me about the Govee hygrometer you use. I got one and my hatch rate has gone up. Thank you so much for telling me about it. Not a problem. It is on our Amazon store, which is just amazon.com/shop/Myshire Farm. I know that's a lot to remember, but if you go to the About Us on our YouTube channel, you know, you go to our page and then go to About. The link is there. The link is also on our website, you know, the little Amazon store, so it's available there. I love the Govees because I'm a big believer that all incubators lie. My philosophy is incubators lie. They don't want you to have a good hatch. Then if you do get a good hatch, the chicks want to die, and your job is to keep them safe and to not kill themselves. And then the rest of their time, they either want to escape or come up with the most creative ways to die. And really, all you're doing is trying to save everybody's life. That's all you're doing. Yeah, I love the Govee. And we tried 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, somewhere around there. Different incubators and hygrometers. This one is a mix of it tests temperature and humidity. It's real cheap. I think I don't remember the price now, but it's fairly cheap and it does a really good job. And it's digital, and you can get Bluetooth, so you can get readings right on your phone, which is really cool. Also, it will track. So like you can wake up in the morning and see, did you have a spike in your incubator or whatever. So I really love the Govee. It kind of just puts the incubator in check. So even if you have a really nice, like even if you have top of the line incubator like GQF, I love GQF. Even if you have a GQF incubator, eventually something's going to break, something's not going to seal correctly, the fan's going to go out, something's going to happen. That Govee is just checks and balances. So I really love it, and it's fairly inexpensive. And I'm happy for your success. So congratulations, Michelle. Travis says, how long can you leave your birds for safely? If you want to leave for the weekend, can you automate feeding and watering? Well, you can have automated waters. That's what we do. We haven't come up with a really good system for automated feed, but our feeders. Now we feed daily, but our feeders will hold up to 2 days. Yes. And then I'm actually going out of town the beginning of October. George will not be here either. So we actually put a little extra piece on there. And so we found a way to actually add 3 days worth of feed. So they have automatic waters, and then we're just going to fill the feeder up all the way. George will actually be back. I think he leaves Friday. He'll be back Sunday. That's when he'll check. But I think I'm actually going to be gone from Thursday to Monday, I do believe. I'd have to look at the schedule again. I can't remember. So we'll be gone a little bit longer. So he'll check on them. So even if we didn't add that attachment onto it, I think they'd be okay. But we will add it on because I'm always worried about stuff like that. I overly stress, which I don't think is a bad thing. And so that'll help. So you can get extra large feeders and just make sure they have multiple days worth. Have a neighbor check on them, whatever the case may be. Automatic waters are fairly easy to do. You could do the bucket system. I love the troughs from Wynola Ranch. But I definitely would start finding out, okay, how much do they feed? How much do they go through a day as far as quantity goes for the cages? How much do they waste? Whatever the case may be. Make sure the watering system is working, things like that. But yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of ideas to start you off with. Is there a taste difference between the colors? Nope, not at all. Good question, but no, not at all. Tim says, had my first shrink wrapped chick. It was pipped on the bottom and I couldn't see it. Sad to say, but the term is true to what happens. It is, unfortunately. And that's just, that just means you're growing. You gotta make eventually those mistakes. You have to. I was using the sand or the grinder the other day on the fence, and I've been using that grinder all in the cages. We've been doing that for months and months in the brooders. We've been doing other stuff. Never did hurt myself. Started on the fence, and I grinded my whole arm, and whoo, did it start burning. And George came over, and he's like, what'd you do? I said, grinder. He's like, well, about time you did it. And I was like, right. So, it's gone now, for the most part. But yeah, that's just part of it. David says we just had our first hatch. That is awesome. Congratulations. Temp up more and counting today as day 16. Yeah. Quits on Thursday. That's correct. And that's just, I think it's an easier mindset to just look at. I think that with the results you've already done in the past 24 hours, your temp is definitely not reading correctly. I can guarantee you that. I think we did a 0.5% yesterday, so now I just told you to do another 0.5%. Because you did 12 today with the increase. I really wanted to see like 24. So in hindsight, I should have had you move it up a degree, but I just didn't know where it was sitting. So I still think we have time if we change it to day 16. So good luck. G. Rubin says garbage incubator, but I think I've got it down. Yeah, and once you can manipulate, and that's the whole goal. I think you can have a great hatch on any incubator, but you have to manipulate it and make it work for you. Whether it's insulating it, not believing it, having govies or other thermometers or hygrometers that you trust. You know, you change it to the way you know it should be, and it'll work great for you. But if you just trust the incubator, eventually you're doomed because they want you to fail. Gabriel says, I started with 50 quail 4 months ago because of you, Zach. Now I got 200 plus. The addiction is real, sir. The addiction is real. Congratulations, you're doing great. Dr. Conley says, do you know of an app or website that tracks AI cases? I've seen it somewhere once, but can't remember where. Ed Got Bait, actually. Yep, he just posted it to Connie. 2 comments down from where you asked that question. He put it on there. And it's aphis.usda.gov. And then there's a couple forwards and things like that, but yeah. At what age can you sex the quail and how do you sex them? It's a good question. You can actually put how to sex Coturnix quail by Myshire Farm in the YouTube channel. I have a couple of videos on that. So there's 2 different kinds. There's feather sexable and then there's vent sexing. So like we offer, I don't know, like 22 different colors. And out of those 22, half are feather sexable, which means you can tell by the chest feathers at 3 weeks old, whether they're male or female. The other half is not feather sexable, which means you need to wait between 6 to 8 weeks and you vent sex. We do have videos on that to show you how to do that. We also have a playlist that might be easier for you to find. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can go to the playlist section. There's a playlist called All About the Colors. There's a breakdown on each color, whether it's feather sexable or not, how to sex them, what they look like, average egg size, average weight, all that. And that will kind of show you how to sex them and things like that. So that might help a little bit well. So if they are feather sexable, 3 weeks old, you can tell. Not feather sexable is 6 to 8. Oh, and Verna actually put the link to sexing quail in the comments. 2 below you. You put them in on Friday and put them on lockdown 2 Fridays later. No. We put them in on Friday, day 0. And then 2 weeks later, I go into the barn. George does not work that day. I feed, I water, I collect eggs, I go to the post office, I come back, and then eggs go into lockdown. Which is usually, it varies, but usually around 12 to 2. It really depends on, a lot. What happens if the kids are here. Because if the kids aren't here and they stayed with their grandma or something, then I have to feed all the animals and, like not just the barn, but I have to feed the emus and the pigs and the goats and the ducks and the geese and the blah, blah, blah. So that takes a little bit longer. If they are here, then it's a little bit shorter, but sometimes it varies. But no, I put them in on Saturday. We used to put them in on Friday, but we actually get better results for me putting them on Saturday now. Good question. So I've decided to start the incubator on the 1st of every month just to avoid the confusing numbers. That's a good idea as well. David says, hi Zach, with your balut eggs, do you refrigerate once on the incubator or just deliver without refrigeration? No, we deliver deliver the same day we candle. So if it's 12-day or 13-day or even 14-day balutes, whatever they ask for, usually 95% of the time it's 12-day balutes. We take them out of the incubator, I candle them, we box them up, and I take them immediately. After we drop them off, they do what they want. Usually they leave them on the counter. Usually they don't fridge. But no, we don't fridge at all. It is out of the incubator, candle, box, go. Gabriel says, how can you sex non-feather sexable quail? You have to vent sex. between 6 to 8 weeks, and it's really hard to explain verbally, but I do have some videos on that you can check out. Michael, it's called foam test. Michael Perry says, I put small piece of cardboard on bottom of feet and tape with Scotch tape overnight. Works so far for curled toes. I think you told me that. I think you told me that as well. I actually had two people in the same week, and I forgot about that. That's true, and I think that it worked. It worked so far for yes. So somebody that asked for curled toes. Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that. A little piece of cardboard, bottom of the foot, and then tape, Scotch tape, or overnight. Worked so far with curled toes. So there you go. Thank you very much. And yes, I did mention it yesterday, but yesterday was Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all of you out there. Priske says, yeah, chicks look kind of funny with cardboard too, but it does work for most. There you go. Again, everybody, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm only reading the questions tonight because it's supposed to be rapid fire, but it's already been over an hour, so I apologize, but I am trying to go as fast as possible. City water okay? We also have an RO filter if that's better. Nope, city water is just fine. Not a problem at all. I have well water, which I'm sure is worse than your city water, but most of my customers have city water, and it's no problem at all. Michelle says, I agree about the plucker. Tractor Supply, we're selling corner shocks for 25 cents each. They asked me if I was interested. I told them that my quail are way cheaper to process. There you go. Mr. Jim 5280 says, does anyone know where I can get the 11.5-inch J feeders? Everyone seems to be out of stock. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I don't, but somebody in the comments might. 101.5 array. It is, yes. FM anyway. I was talking to one of my kids the other day, and we were talking about the radio, and I don't know why I said it, but I said something about AM or AM and FM, and they looked at me like I was cussing them out, and I said, "What?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Oh dear." Papa's Farm says, just showed my eggs and products shipped. Thanks, Myshire Farm. Wonderful to hear. Most likely you might have went out to she. If you just got a notification not too long ago, you're probably going out tomorrow. Because I shipped today, and then I got the estimate, the projections for tomorrow as well. But soon, you're going out. Good luck. Ashley0882 says, one just hatched. Its feet are a little curled. Will they straighten out with a bit of time? So Michael just had a great idea. Priske agreed as well. Take a little piece. It won't fix itself, no. Put a little piece of cardboard at the bottom of the foot. Tape it, Scotch tape around it. Leave it over there overnight, and then take it off, and you should be good to go. So there you go with that. Maybe we'll try that and try to do a video on it. I think that's a good idea. And then I would increase your humidity. No, actually, I would increase your temp by 0.5 degree if they're still in the incubator, because usually that means they're in the incubator a little too long. Let's try to increase that temp to warm them up, to make them want to break through the eggs. Michael says, what... I'm assuming waters. I've tried, yeah. What waters do you recommend? I've tried cups and horizontal nipples. They keep going back to mason jar water. If you're talking about the breeders, troughs by Winola Ranch, quailcage.com. Love the troughs. They go on the outside of the cage. They are awesome. Multiple quail can drink out of it one time without them trying to bully each other around. Love, love, love the troughs. We actually did a video about that. And then in the brooders, we do the chicken waters for the first week, and then after that they're on an automatic water with the blue or with the red cups with the little yellow piece out of it, the yellow float, caged over. We're gonna try something else, but it works great for us. George just did that video. I think we posted it 2 weeks ago, but I think it's titled something about saving us hours a week. I can't remember what I named it. Sorry, but it's only like 2 weeks old, so like 4 videos ago. So that's what we do. But I love the troughs. Can I supplement my bagged quail feed with anything I can grow? What if feed becomes unavailable? Shortages. Someone had an answer to that last night. You can really do a lot of stuff. You can do fodder. You can supplement the feed with higher protein or higher calcium with oyster shells or whatever it's called. Fly larva, whatever. Can't remember. I don't do it. Yeah, I mean, there's other things that they'll eat. They love fruits and veggies. Not a big deal at all. I'll leave it at that. Driftless Outdoors says, are there any incubators for a budget that allow to regulate temp by 1/10 of a degree instead of by 1/2 degree? Not that I'm aware of. I don't know of any incubators that do that. Even the higher end ones. Like even the GQFs, I think, are half. No, the GQF actually, I think you can do 1/10 degrees. Not the budget ones that I can think of right now. I could be wrong. I haven't tested them all, but none that I can think of at this moment. Priske says, when you order a mix, does the order sheet say which colors were placed in your specific color order? No, it does not. That would take me way too much time. And we've got mixed cages that go to that, and then if I have extra eggs, then we collect a couple of each cage, which that would work, but we also have mixed cages. No, we do not. Sorry. Robert says, my Pharaoh hen has yellow gold in her breast feathers. Her chick at 6 weeks old has snow white chest. What's happening? Male Pharaoh sex link roux. Snow white chest. It sounds as though that you've got a wild tuxedo. Snow white chest. Yeah, you've got a wild tuxedo, possibly an overextended white wing. Probably not, though. I think you've got a wild tuxedo, which they are very pretty. Rebel says, can you answer chicken question possibly? Probably not, but I can try. I have 2 hen I just received 5 days ago. One hen is laying every day and the other hen has only laid 1 egg. Can this be caused of the move? Yeah, it absolutely can be. I wouldn't, 5 days. I wouldn't really worry about it at least for another week and 2 days. I give them at least 2 weeks when we move stuff. And that's anything. So yeah, I wouldn't stress out yet. The person asking about the J feeders, Ora Johnson at 919 responded with a company that has the J feeders in stock, it looks like. Aaron says, for brooder set, is it best to have 1 to 5 male to female or 2 to 10 if the cage is large enough for 2 to 10? Yeah, it's called colony breeding, and that's what we do. I love it. It's Yeah, GQF does. Yeah, and most of the I misspoke. Most of the higher end ones do tenth of degrees, but Nurture Right 360, Little Giant, Farm Innovator, Huvibator, none of those are either half degree or full degree up. So I did misspeak. Yeah, so that's what we do. We have multiple males and multiple hens in the cages. We still follow the we actually do 4 hens to 1 male because we ship so much, but I definitely recommend 5 hens to 1 male. Your hens will look a lot better and you won't have any missing feathers most of the time like that. So yeah, the 2 to 10 ratio is great if you've got the room. Marianne says, I'm getting quite a bit of leftover powder from the crumbled feed. How can I best reuse it as feed other than adding water? Thank you. Good question. So what you can do, I moved you guys all over the place. I'm so sorry. I must have kicked it. So what you can do is take like a 5-gallon bucket or a small bucket, I guess. You don't have as many cages as me, so you don't have to do a 5-gallon bucket. But small little bucket. Take the powder, put it in there, and then kind of at the end of your feed bag, or if you're using like a barrel and you're putting the feed in there, whatever the case may be, kind of mix it in with the other feed and just mix it around, and then usually they'll eat at least 2/3 of what was left over. Is the short answer. Steven says, Zach, Little Giant incubators go by 10th of degrees. They do? I don't think ours did. Maybe we did. I mean, you would know better than me. I've only tried it once, so I guess I'm extremely wrong, and I apologize to everybody out there. Yes, there are incubators on a budget that will do 10th of degrees. I guess the Little Giant does. I'm kind of questioning myself now, but I am almost certain, like 99.9% certain, that the Nurture Right 360 does not. But now I do not trust myself. So the Little Giant does. Sorry, everybody. I don't remember that. Our permaculture is in the house. Hello from Texas. Have you thought about called small quail for fishermen? Trot lines, jug lines, mainly cat fishermen, bait shops. Actually, we've done it once. We did not. They actually contacted us. They loved it. We kind of have they weren't as consistent for an account, and the other account's kind of taking everything that they wanted, so we directed them to someone else. I don't know if they're still doing it. This was like 4 or 5 years ago, but they loved it. So I mean, that's a great idea. Kelly says, are the charcoal gray quail you mentioned feather sexable? No. The ones that are silver in Tibet, no, they are not, but they are gosh darn gorgeous, that's for sure. Yeah, they're really gorgeous. Now the silver pharaohs and the silver and golds are feather sexable. But I tell everybody that silvers are not feather sexable because most of them are not. Blah says, can you drown eggs during lockdown with high humidity? Yes, you can. You really don't ever want it to go over 80%. I really don't remember that. I mean, I believe you. I completely believe you. You've used it more times than I have. I do not remember that. Of course, really the only thing I remember about it is I was impressed with the hatch. Maybe I should watch that video again. Get myself familiar with it. One day I'll have eggs again to do videos for you. That'd be fun. Let's see. Sushi Master is in the house. Why don't you sell jumbo? We do. They're called jumbo wilds on our website, but we sell them. Yep. That is all of the questions for tonight, and hour and a half. Not too bad. Probably should have went a little bit faster. I guess I'm just in the mood to really explain things. Probably overly explained it and bored you. I apologize, but I did explain, so that's nice. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I will get notifications. I'll try to answer as possible. But remember, we'll be back every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, most of the time, for a live Q&A. It's more of a community setting. It takes a little bit longer, but I read all the comments. And then Mondays, obviously, are supposed to be rapid fire. If you have tried to contact me, text, phone calls, emails, however other way you can contact me, super behind. I'm just pulled in every direction. So I will be working extremely late. It's getting a little late, and I'm not very comfortable with sending texts late at night. So what I'll probably do is respond to everybody and just not send it. And then in the morning, just go through all the text and just hit send all the way down, so I don't have to do that tomorrow, because tomorrow I am slammed. Wednesday, I am Thursday, dear Lord. So I will be contacting you probably tomorrow. I probably just won't send the texts tonight because I feel like that's kind of rude to send them late. So I do see one more question, so we'll answer that and then we'll get out of here. Betsy said, hold on. Betsy says, I have 5 females and 1 male in a cage. They are 8 weeks old now. They were all raised together now. They all are fighting with each other until their heads are bleeding. What can I do? 5 females to 1 male. Just to be safe, first and foremost, make sure that the sexing is correct. Make sure that there is only 1 male and 5 hens. Second, I would go up to the cage. I know we don't have a lot of time to do things. I get that. But if you go to the cage, do not feed and water them. Just go straight to the cage. Watch them for 4 to 6 minutes. If you have an aggressor, you should find it in that time frame. The problem is if you feed or water before you do that, they're preoccupied. So before you feed and water on your daily routine or whatever the case may be, just go up and watch them as far away as you can, but being able to see them. When you do that, you should be able to find the aggressor in just a few minutes, if there is one chasing around. But first, I would make sure that your sexing is correct, 5 hens to 1 male. Second, it kind of sounds like an aggressor. If you can't find out which one and you don't see anything, what I would do is take them all out of the cage all at once, put them in a box with no light, leave them in there for about 3 to 4 hours, put them back in the cage. It disorients them. No one is territorial, and it kind of reboots them. So that might help as well. Do you put some silvers in my last feather sexable order? No, silvers do not go in the feather sexable because most of them are not, unless you requested it. Some people requested in the comments. Out of 2 hatches in Nurturite 360, we had 1 in each with 1 splay leg. Could it be genetics drawer liner in Nurturite? No, I don't think so. The reason I say that is you really can't breed splay legs. Like, it just doesn't really work. So, I mean, maybe you could. I've never kept them that long. Maybe you could. But we don't try to save them either. Like, we don't try to wrap them or anything like that. They just go away. If I was raising them just for self-sufficient use, I probably would try to keep them. But because I'm shipping to all of you and I have to be very careful on what I ship, we don't save those. They go to another purpose. Everything has a purpose. They have a purpose. I don't think that there's a chance it's genetics. I really don't believe that. You could contact the breeder that you got them from originally. Well, if you ordered them and these are hatching out from a generation or two since you've had them, it'd be really hard for a breeder to be able to answer that. But if these, out of 2 hatches, if these came from the same breeder or even 2 separate breeders, I would contact them and ask them what their ratio is to splay leg. We don't have splay leg, ever. I don't think we've had splay leg or wry neck since we were in the barn up here. And that was environmental. I don't think either one of those have happened since we've been in this barn. And if it has, it's, been a long time ago. I don't think it's genetic. I really do believe it's 100% environmental in some sort. Now we have, in the GQF, they've got the really small wiring. I have had a few quail get their knee stuck in between. That's not fun. But I haven't had splay leg or wry neck since we've been in that barn. We tried to keep them, but they died. Yeah, I do believe that they do die most of the time. I can't imagine you being able to breed those even if they do make it to adulthood. I guess maybe they could. I don't know. I'm sorry. Did you say to put them all in a box for 3 to 4 hours disoriented from aggression? Yes. Now, sometimes aggression is genetic, and you just need to call it and move it out. But sometimes it's about 50-50. It's either environmental or it's genetic. Can't really do much about the genetic except for calling and using another male. Sometimes they're just jerks, right? But you can control the environment, and sometimes you just need to reboot them. The weird thing it was only 1 leg each. That's weird. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Huh. I don't think I've ever seen that. That's kind of weird. I'll ask George about that question as well and see what he says on what else could have the causes. I have an idea, but I really don't want to say it until I confirm it with somebody else. So I'll ask George or Jenna and see what they think of my idea, and they might go, no, that doesn't make sense. And I'll go, okay, well, I'm glad I didn't say anything. Or they might say, hey, that makes sense, and then I'll do a video or tell you next week. Okay, that is all the questions. I'm sorry it took so long. So much for rapid fire, right? But thank you for being here. Thank you for asking all the questions. I'm happy that we could help. Hopefully we helped. I appreciate you. And we've got a genetic video coming out this week. We've got a bee update video coming out this week. And we'll be in the process of doing at least 3 different videos. I don't know if they'll be posted this week, but they are in the process. They're editing, and I just have to finish them up. So thank you all very much. If you can, hit the like button, support the channel. I greatly appreciate it. And if you have not so far, I know there's a couple of you that are brand new. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications, as we are having a lot more information coming your way, and you will not want to miss it. So until next time, everybody, thank you very, very much, and stay safe.